So for the longest time, the media, the fanboys out there have all been talking about if it isn't AAA, if it isn't a walking simulator, if it isn't cinematic experiences, and we've seen this now with like the likes of Indiana Jones, it's trash. And if it isn't on PlayStation, it's trash. If it isn't on this, it's trash. If it doesn't have this, it's trash. If it doesn't have crafting, if it doesn't have this, if it doesn't have X, if it doesn't have Y, it's trash. And this has been a problem for a long time. There are so many good games out there that aren't AAA, that are completely being skipped. And the media is attributing to this with their fake kind of clickbait titles. And, at the end of the day, they're kind of fueling that everything has to be AAA. It's unsustainable. That bubble is going to burst. And I think Shpeshal Nick over here puts it very, very nicely in a very, very nice condensed way that pretty much outlines exactly the issues here. And as you can see here, Shpeshal Nick was cooking here, was a thing of beauty. So let's just listen to what he says, because then I want to comment. It's about 2 minutes long, or 3 minutes long. So let's listen to it, and we can discuss what he said after. Let's go full screen. Let's go.
So again, it goes back to what I said, where this isn't... There's so many myths that get perpetuated in video games, and it fucking pisses me off to no end, because they are myths. And in a lot of cases, gaming media contributes to the fucking bullshit. Like, the reason I get annoyed about this race to the AAA bottom, where the industry's heading to crash, gaming media contributes to that a lot. Because all they want to fucking do is cream their jocks and give all the awards to the third person, over the shoulder, slow walk and talk, 80 hours, gotta have a companion, blah, blah. That's the only shit they want to acknowledge.
So true.
So what do all the other devs do? Oh, fuck, that's what we've got to do. We've got to be third person. And we have to go for 40 hours. And we've got to have an AI companion that talks to us and gets all sad. And we have to have crafting. We don't have crafting. We have to have... And they're all running themselves fucking bankrupt doing it. Sony's running themselves fucking almost bankrupt doing it. Like, again, we saw the numbers. They need to sell 10 million copies just to break even in all these games. Like, we're racing to the AAA bottom, and I don't like it. And part of the reason we're doing it is because the IGNs and the Game Awards and the Game Spots and the kind of funnies, all they want to do is acknowledge those games. That's it. Yeah, you've got your indie darling here and there. But generally, all they want to do is acknowledge that shit. And that's why we're racing to the bottom now. Because everyone has to copy that. So that's why when I saw the whole indie third versus first, I started to get... Even though I would have personally said third, it started to annoy me seeing how people are like, well, they've got to have third. They've got to have third. They've got to have third. Why? Don't validate what Sony's doing. Don't validate what everyone else is asking for, and do your own fucking thing and just make the game good. Don't give a shit about a camera perspective, because back in the 90s, there was no such thing as a third-person action-adventure game, and it was first-person that was dominating. It was Doom. It was Wolfenstein. It was Hexen. It was Heretic. It was Quake. That's all we had back then. There were no third-person adventure games. It played first-person, and that's what was in vogue. And then others came along and started doing their own thing, and then something else took off. I just... Fuck. Like,
a little game called GTA, which changed the landscape.
I wish studios would just do what they want to do. Don't just pace. And again, that's why a lot of gaming media pisses me off, because they enable this behavior.
So I would say, scratch
what annoys me.
Great
scratch
point.
all that and do what I want to do, not what you want to do. And I'll let you know.
No,
you just, call me in, and I'll give you the...
It just gives me the shits. Like, the people with the loudest voices in gaming media, it's like they get to dictate.
And there is a lot of truth to this, right? There is a lot of truth to this. The media especially is definitely, culprit in this. They are definitely part of the problem. Because if it doesn't have a certain trope, and we've seen this now with the Indiana Jones reveal, if it doesn't have that third person view, if it isn't that over the shoulder, if it doesn't have a companion, if it doesn't have crafting, if it doesn't have all this faffing about, when we've seen games like Prince of Persia come along, which doesn't really have any of that stuff, and it's an amazing game. I would say quite comfortably that going towards the end of the year, it will actually potentially get a nomination for Game of the Year. It's really good. Then we're seeing Palworld that just got released. Again, it looks amazing. Well, it looks wise, it's really good. It's early access, but the game is phenomenally fun and it's doing the rounds. I think it's something like 900,000 concurrent users right now. You know, that's crazy. We're talking Baldur's Gate numbers here. But at the same time, you know, a game doesn't have to follow that trope. But because a lot of these media, and he fell, you know, Shpeshal Nick fell short right before he wanted, and I'm sure he wanted to say it, because a lot of these media outlets are bootlickers for Sony, and they want to basically make everyone conform to the Sony way, which is what they've been brainwashed to do. And they want every game now to conform to their wants and needs. There's no room for any creativity anymore. Everything has to be that kind of same standard style of game. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't mind my story-driven games. I actually really enjoy them. It's one of my favorite genres. But I also like other stuff, other types of games. And as he, you know, mentioned, Wolfenstein, Doom, a lot of these games were here before any of this crap actually turned up. And people were lapping it. But it seems to be that because it's a Sony thing, because, you know, it's a PlayStation thing, the media is all over that genre for whatever reason. Now, I'm sure if the tables and popularity shifted, they would probably, you know, start bootlicking the other way, because that is exactly what the media is, right? And I think Shpeshal Nick here pretty much cooked and destroyed them in just the perfect way. I think he got it perfectly right. At the end of the day, machine games doesn't have to conform to the norm. If they develop and deliver a good game, a really good game, it doesn't matter if it's first person or not. The simple fact is, it's going to do well. If it's a good game, it will sell. Now we're seeing posts like this. So as you can see here, we all played Tomb Raider as Lara. We all played Uncharted as Nate. Is it really that controversial to say we wanted to play Indy as Indy 2? Who asked to be Indy? That's the most romanticized design choice ever. Like, they are literally going against it because it isn't conforming to their desires and their wants. Because they've been so conformed and so brainwashed that games can only appear and function in one way, be it for it to be a story-driven game. I mean, RPGs have existed for the world of time, and they deliver a fantastic story. Sure, they're not cinematic, but it doesn't need to be third person. The simple fact is, as Machine Game said, for the scenes where the cutscenes are playing, or for certain parts of the game where it makes sense, the camera pulls back and shows you Indy. It gives you that third person perspective. But for the actual combat and for the free roaming, they've opted to go first person. Now, we can't tell if that's going to be the correct choice or not, but it's a design choice that they made, that they feel comfortable with, and that they want to pursue. At the end of the day, this ideology, this mentality, this way of thinking that every game has to be an over-the-shoulder, third-person kind of Walking Dead simulator is starting to get old and boring. Yes, they are delivering a good story, but let's be realistic. Every single one of those, walk, cutscene, combat. Walk, cutscene, combat. Very rarely you get into an open area which allows you to explore a little bit, but other than that, it's walk, cutscene, combat. Walk, cutscene, combat. It's the same thing. And everything now has to have a companion. Ellie, Atreus, you know, it makes no difference. It's all the same. But anyway, that's my thoughts on this. I think, you know, Shpeshal Nick actually got this bang on right. I think he got this on the money. And I think, you know, the way he cooked the media, the fans out there who are now criticizing Indiana Jones because they've got nothing better to do with their lives, and really and truly, they're just salty, it's an Xbox exclusive, are now basically running rampant, trying to underplay what could potentially be Game of the Year. Because let's face it, what does PlayStation have this year? Nothing. I mean, IGN, instead of talking about the developers direct, right, this is what they're talking about. As you can see here, this is what they're talking about. One developer explains why Starfield's NPC look like they're dead inside. They reposted this article rather than talking about the Dev Direct, which was amazing, by the way, with Avowed, Hellblade, Ara, Visions of Mana, Indiana Jones. This is what they're reporting on. This is what they're reporting on. In case you missed it, Starfield lets you fly directly into other planets, but it takes forever and it's anticlimactic. This is the thing that Eleanor Pierce posted months ago, right? This is the story from months ago. Instead of talking about the developer direct, IGN chooses to report on this. So that pretty much tells you how they are trying to underplay this whole thing. It's sad and pathetic. And the fact is, if it doesn't conform to their Sony overlords' way of gaming, which is becoming creatively bankrupt, the fact is these media outlets are part of the problem. In fact, they are a big part of the problem because they are enabling, as Shpeshal Nick said, the problem. They are enabling these companies to basically continue down this way because they are promoting it in such an aggressive way that it's making anyone else that tries to do something different make them look at themselves and re-question their life choices. It's so stupid. But anyway, that's what I have for today. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I will see you in the next one. As always, remain